You are one vicious son of a bitch. Ah!
Well, who do you think's going to watch your back? I didn't want to believe it either, milady, but we have to find her. Oh, this was when the Long War was young, when victory was still a thing dreamed of, and the Jotnar might have tipped the balance between Aesir and Vanir. Oh, well, we'll circle back to that later. What exactly did he want to know?
Now the heart, brother. You'll have to get your hands dirty.
Ha! That part's true, at least. Aye, for a while it truly wasn't. Ah, Gondul. Beautiful Gondul. Go ahead and lock in Jotunheim and we'll be on our way. Probably. I can start again later. Only a fire giant could be at home here, and according to prophecy, we won't see them again till Ragnarok. Well then, clearly you've been listening. Well, I'm not sure that's the lesson.
Behind you, brother! More behind you, brother!
His army come Ragnarok. The entire reason Valhalla exists, you see. The Einherjar wait in the Great Hall endlessly, feasting, drinking, and fornicating themselves silly. Once Ragnarok begins, Odin calls them into service to fight on his behalf. Geirdriful had her hands full training that lot. He knew I'd outwitted him, called the lesson wisdom, and hired me to make sure from then on I was on his side, and for a long, long time I truly was. Doesn't mean he didn't hold a grudge. And so, only the last living giant in Midgard. Who better to tell us the way? Well, who knows? Perhaps you and Tyr are the same kind of mad. Oh my, yes, many, many gods.
Shadow on your right! Towards to the left!
His destiny is to fall at the hands of Thor and Odin, but in so doing, strike the blow that leaves their realm in ash and ruin. And from that destruction, the world can be born anew. Until then, alone he waits in Muspelheim, never sleeping, ever honing his fiery blade. Brave, generous sort, who knows he lives but to his doom. Those chains are not apt to break themselves.
Viken to your right, brother!
Aye, but Odin and Fjorgun's love was true.
Dark elf to the left!
Good thinking, brother. Muspelheim, Niflheim, Sigrun would have no qualm with interning her Valkyries outside of Midgard. She cast a powerful spell that hurtled them both out of Jotunheim with no means of return.
Wolf behind you, brother!
Careful, lads. Okay, then. I'm sure Sindri would understand and do the same, lad. Don't fret. Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. Proud Thormur hoped to one day pass his vast knowledge on to his son. But young Hrimthur had the heart of a warrior. Brother, up there! The winds of hell! Those blades must indeed be hot to burn hell's bramble. Now take the shortcut back to the Realm Travel Temple, then on to Helheim, yeah? You take a wrong turn, brother. Realm Travel Room's back up top. I did, lad. But I've known more than my share of gods. Odin didn't want Freya, a Vanir goddess, getting credit for anything in Asgard. So anything worthy she accomplished was attributed to Frigg. Brother, are you feeling all right? Trust the recently liberated, brother. No one deserves to be held captive like this. Even a greedy little dwarf come dragon. Ah, we spent rather a long time here. Don't we have things to do? Look, would you rather it didn't? Does your life want for lack of time spent bridge pushing? No? All right then. Yes, lad. Look, bit of a long shot, but for years I'd see Sindri, sometimes Brock, lurking around in that mountain when Odin came for his visits. Maybe they know something. Ah, Fafnir. I always wondered what became of him. If you recall, Skadi, the Queen of the Hunt, was being courted by Odin himself.
Helviken on your right!
Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant, had surrendered in hopes to clear his name, and Thor responded by tearing him limb from limb. Oh yes! Well, what happened after Hrungnir fell slain upon Thor was that nobody in the court could get the stone body off of him.
Ogre behind you, brother!
Oh dear. Have you broken? Well, if you see any more shrines about, you can always ask. Your father was Zeus? I finally understand. I'm dangling from the hip of the bloody ghost of Sparta. Well, you're getting stronger all the time. Let your father think. I can't watch, brother. Good luck. If you're thinking about hurling us all into the void, I hope you're quite sure. Look at all this. The amount of arcane knowledge hidden between these walls. Do hurry back, please. Oh? When did I stop making sense?
Brother!
And oh, would he ever revenge himself upon Freya? Aye, Hrimthur, son of Thamur. At least we're not on the side of the bridge where those visions will torture us. Therefore, we flip the temple. The logic is unassailable. Incredible. Never leaves my mind. Didn't think it would be that easy. Quite right. Safe to breathe for a time, but it'll kill if we linger. Just one more reason to love Niflheim. Aye. Snow. Lots more snow. And then the end of the bloody world, in that approximate order. You can get through that door there now that you got the chisel, back under his palm. We're almost there. And so, a stranger from a far-off island found himself with Odin's ear, trusted as he trusted no one but himself, relieved of 6 arms and too much blood. Starkath perished upon the battlefield. I regret it to this day, you know. I told myself there was nothing I could do, but I wish I'd tried. Aye, beautiful, seductive sprites of the forest. Imagine that. This is Odin's. I'd recognise his atrocious taste anywhere. Well, that's an even longer story, lad. For now, why don't we look around for some clues? Just having a little fun, you big grump. If the giants ever had anything so organised as an army, Starkath would have been their general. An opinion, in retrospect, I should have kept to myself. Well, it is a realm of primordial fire. If it weren't a little balmy, I'd be concerned. Perhaps this isn't about speed at all. Is there someplace else the winds can go? Aye. But where are we? Smiling, jealous Odin took her by the throat, and with his very hands he stole her library and her life for his own. Odin agreed, knowing the task was impossible, but intrigued by this stranger. Say, we make a pretty good team. He's more than harmed. The spell is broken. Odin. He saw a kindred spirit in Olrun's single-minded pursuit of knowledge. He appointed her as the Valkyrie's resident historian. Well, that hasn't stopped you before, eh? Odin must have convinced him that following you to Jotunheim would bring his cure. Lies, I'm sure. Once Fjorgun was gone, lonely ages passed for Odin. And as war with the Vanir raged, I could see what he really wanted beneath his bluster. That's no surprise. Every god is unique. That refers to a modest example of Odin's thirst for knowledge. The time he spent 9 days a dead man. Hung himself by the neck from Yggdrasil's branches, put his spear through his own side, and bled down into the Well of Destiny. He roamed the realms of the dead and plundered the world tree of its secrets, until I think quite rightly it got fed up with him and sent him back to the land of the living. Did I not mention he was barking mad? It was about the Queen of the Hunt, who rejected Odin's romantic advances, causing him to vow revenge. I thought there'd be a bridge! Target on the left! You did it! You sealed all 3 of the realm tears. How do you feel? I don't know, lad. A lot's changed since we last crossed paths. I had legs. Extraordinary. The whole room is built on some kind of axle. Fate's a tricky thing, lad. And Odin's just arrogant enough to think he can get the best of it. He observed that Asgard's walls were half-built and shoddy, for no Aesir god could be bothered with such tiresome labour. Why don't you tell me how all this began with Balder? Tatzelworm, on your right! Freya cannot fight, even to defend herself. As long as we maintain this speed and those fires don't go out, we should be there in no time, lad. I was going to say void. Odin was plotting the downfall of Starkath, the mighty 8-armed giant. Wait for an opening! How's everything going, brother? Please hurry. I don't know yet if I can drown. Have you considered a tactical retreat? Before we return to Midgard, I should warn you. More time has passed than you likely realise. And the snowfall that began when you slew Balder, it's become something else. The stuff of omens. Well, a stealthy plan it is not. Mimir, the first giant, had emerged from the void, and every form of life began to spring forth from Mimir. Odin was livid, hoping that Thor's foothold in Jotunheim would become his own. Thrym the Cunning sought to ransom Thor's stolen hammer for Freya's hand, presenting Odin with a rare opportunity. Oh, I like that one. I wonder if I wrote it. Careful, brother. Freya's not here to bring you back if you're cutting too. I beg your pardon. What's going on? Indeed. He speaks an obscure tongue more ancient even than these mountains. None are left in Midgard who speak it. Except, of course, for me. It begins in an ocean of blood. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Well, you know, I suppose it's cooled considerably since the dawn of creation, hasn't it? Niflheim isn't exactly ice these days either. It's in the nature of things. Extremes are tempered by time. Fires burn colder, men grow old and grey, heads are chopped off and attached to belts. Such is life. The snake's already in position, brother. Nothing more to negotiate. Surt the Brave and his sword of flame, fated to burn down Asgard come Ragnarok.
Look, there was no easy choice. For anybody, brother. But I think we can all agree you did the right thing. The world's a better place with Freya in it. Just give her time, lads. She'll come around.
Completely understand. Oh, this is all wrong. Only the newly dead should be here. There's too many. The gate must be closed, and if the gate's closed, then it's true. Hell's full up. Without the Valkyrie to sort and kill them, hell is overwhelmed. Quite right, my boy. I think it's gone out. That is adorable. It's always about control. Of course. We've spoken so much of frost giants. It's about time we instead met the most fiery giant of all. Amazing! How do you hide something that exists in all realms? Cast it out of any realm to the space between. Clever old Tyr. Not just any winter, but a great winter to span 3 summers. And when it's done, Ragnarok begins. Hrimthur, son of Thamur. I said he'd plot his revenge, and so he did. Oh, that's plain to see. And Odin is the king of meddlers. But I shudder to think what he did to cause this. Perhaps it involves the Valkyries. That'd be playing a dangerous game indeed. A Valkyrie? Here in Muspelheim? Impossible! This is why no one likes you. Aye, Jotunheim awaits. He always has his reasons. Might I have a look? Well, this is most unexpected. I haven't the foggiest. Isn't that unexpected? Look, clearly that's Tyr. Travelling somehow. Perhaps magically. But what's that to do with the giants that they should devote a shrine to it? I'm afraid that is none too clear. Not runes. Symbols from different lands. They mean... Aye. No doubt signifying the gift of sight the giants granted us. Give me a closer look. Interesting. Very interesting. Secret plans concealed by Tyr so none could access but him, and those few others the giants trusted. And right under Odin's nose, ho ho ho, I did promise I'd get you to Jotunheim. Don't you see, brother? Odin never gave up hope, and neither should we. He knew there was a clue in here, but we're the ones who found it. These plans are for a key to some chamber Tyr's kept hidden. I don't know where it's leading or what we'll find, but it's a path. I suggest we ask a dwarf. Odin slew Mimir, and the torrent of blood threatened to flood all of creation. Oh, that was a singular piece of cruelty, even for Odin. This should be entertaining. Back when Mimir first emerged from Ginnungagop, it was Surt who followed next. He came from Muspelheim, the fire realm, bringing heat to the young cosmos, conjuring the sun from his primordial flame. Well, let's come back to that flaming sword, shall we? I'm talked out, lad. But someday I imagine I'll be telling your story. Odds are there's a bit of magic at play here as well. This is a dwarven stronghold, after all. Broken. Wonder if Modi was somehow able to sever its connection to the World Tree to funnel us here. Odin had slain Mimir, and used the primeval giant's flesh to shape the realm of Midgard. Incredible, and so would Odin's victory have been complete. A fair question, and yet not one easily answered. I know more than most, but much of their history is veiled in secrecy. My own experience with the Valkyries ends with my imprisonment. Once in a moon it's been known to happen, yes? I wouldn't want to speculate. Come on, you two. The silence is getting unnerving. That may be a matter of perspective. They took an uncomfortable number of measurements and then proceeded to bicker about the weather. As I said, brother, it's complicated. I don't know why or how they become such wretched creatures. But perhaps if we can free more of them. It was Odin who took arms against his creator and spilled Ymir's lifeblood with his spear. Aye, that's just perfect! Oh, no. Valhalla is part of Asgard. Only the worthy dead go there, the warriors who die in glorious combat. Hell is for those who die in dishonour. Our boy is catching on, isn't he? Where were we then? Oh yes, my first job. On that, brother, you and the All-Father may just agree. Even if he can't prevent Ragnarok, he still hopes to learn enough details to influence the outcome. Remind me later to tell you about the wolves. Not my proudest moment, that's fair to say. The sun and moon stood still in defiance, so Odin put the wolf giant Skoll and Hoti to work. Gradually, as I grew more to care about people and the world, my job became to contain him. Wolvers, such tragic creatures. Did you know they were... Correct. We are still in Midgard. This tower is just a mirror of an identical tower in Vanaheim that exists in this same spot. Here in Midgard, it's just symbolic. We would need to use the realm travel room to get to Vanaheim. They called it Jotunheim. And there they would start anew. Oh, do be careful. Beautiful, isn't it? Why, I remember once... Brother, look out! Baldur, let him go. Take me instead. I'll do whatever you... Oh! Oughtn't we be getting back to Freya's? He's not kidding, is he? What she did not know is that Odin himself was behind her husband's disappearance, having used his enchantments to conceal his death at Thor's hands from her sight. This is why no one likes you. Take the boat. Freya's isn't far. So Hrimthur adopted the guise of an ordinary man and made the Aesir an offer. He would build them majestic new walls, and if he couldn't build them within 2 turns of the season, they would owe him nothing for his labours. Let's just agree to stop saying, flip the temple. It's starting to sound normal. We were near the end of Skadi's tale, as the Queen of the Hunt discovered that Odin had tricked her into slaying her own father. And if the All-Father had wings, he'd be a dragon. Well, if this is it, lads, it's been an honour. Into the legend of Ymir, the first giant, enter the Aesir gods. Well, not all of them. Not yet. Yes, bloody oblivion is down there, lad. Please, you're concerning me. For instance, Odin hates the giants and they him. But Thor's own mother was the giantess Fjorgun, one of Odin's great loves. All right, what say we finish that story? Hang on, lad! Though he had robbed the greatest giant killer of his greatest weapon, he offered to trade it back to the Aesir in exchange for Freya as his bride. Well, dangerous fools, to be sure. When they work together, they're formidable. But too often it's a petty competition. Terribly strong, even as children. I remember the time Hrungnir the Brawler fell upon Thor. Aye, don't be sorry, lad. Sigrun brought this on herself. Only wish... Well, wishing only gets you so far. I said he'd plot his revenge, and so he did. It's true. You wouldn't know it to look at him, but Jormungandr is a sparkling conversationalist. Tyr's vault is at the bottom of those stairs. Just take them all the way to the bottom. That's a long story, but we'll get to it.
She's probably in there planning your demise, brother.
Bollocks, brother. Respectfully, bollocks. He has to know. He'll never be whole without the truth. Now, at this point, Freya was married to Odin, and Odin, frankly, would have traded her for a sufficiently strong mead, but he saw an opportunity here. Well, I'm pretty sure you weren't talking to me back there. Anything you'd like to get off your chest, brother? Well, guess we're the bad guys now. You found it! Now dispel it! Would you believe magic? Odin didn't want Freya, a Vanir goddess, getting credit for anything in Asgard, so anything worthy she accomplished was attributed to Frigg. There was a giant once named Thamur, a very giant, who, despite his mountainous size, was without question the greatest stonemason this world had ever seen. Proud Thamur hoped to one day pass his vast knowledge on to his son, but young Hrimthur had the heart of a warrior. Perhaps the father had too much fear in him, or the son too little. Either way, a quarrel of theirs spiralled out of control, and the overworked stonemason, bonk, struck his son. Hrimthur ran off into the night. She was overcome with grief and shame, for there is nothing nature so reviles as a child who kills their parent. There you go, you wee little bugger. Be free. Skadi, Queen of the Hunt, had been lured by Odin into hunting an eagle. We'll finish this later. Not minor. Not minor at all, him. This will not go over well in Asgard. Odin's spear had spilled the lifeblood of Ymir, the first giant. It's also slowly killing you, lad. It's not their fault, brother. Someone changed them. Kept them from their duty. Those gears up there. Could we jam a door open, maybe? It was put forth that the Aesir were plagued by an eagle who would steal the precious golden apples of Idun. Groa knew Odin as a long-time patron of her services, and so she welcomed him into her library as a friend. Huh? Oh, sorry, my boy. I think it best we just end it there, actually. Brother, there's no path to the temple in here. The door to the realm between realms is outside. You almost had it. Keep looking. Don't you think so? Then you are vastly more perceptive than the Aesir. They're the ones who apparently can't tell the difference, and they're the ones who came up with that name. Dwarves actually call their home realm Nidavellir. If you mean to break those chains, I'm afraid you'll need to go see to it personally. Not him, I'm afraid. Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. These have always given me the willies. They surrounded Starkath, showered him with arrows until he was brought to his knees. He surrendered, hoping by trial he could clear his name. There are a few ways to find out, but they're rather messy. Oh, how can I be so nauseous without a stomach? Oh, he's no friend of mine. This little scrote was a constant source of annoyance amongst Aesir and Vanir alike. Are you quite sure flipping the temple is the only way to reach the whatever it is? No progress on the chains front as yet, seemingly. Mimir's magical guts poured out in a torrent so violent it threatened to flood all of creation. Does that hurt? At all? You'd think this dragon would be a bit more supportive, seeing how we're trying to free it. For weeks they sailed, until finally they came upon a new land. Mimir's blood had washed away the Jotnar, but not every giant was lost. Thankfully, the ages and roads travelled since then have turned me from that merry wanderer into the paragon of virtue you see before you today. That was outstanding! Wish I had a better view. It was a sacrifice to protect her people, a selfless act of love. But Odin's madness, his tyranny, his corruption of her magics, it became more than she could stomach, and at long last she broke it off. Not as simple as that, I'm afraid. Again with the death traps. But the conclusion of this thrilling tale will have to wait. Groa, the Knowledge Keeper, sought out her husband in visions, but instead discovered Ragnarok. Odin himself wanted her for his bride, believing she would bear him strong sons. The wolves determine when Ragnarok begins, and now he controls the wolves. A battle fought on his timetable is a battle he better stands to win. Remind me to tell you that story. I don't think she can hear you, lad. The helms must only retain but a small portion of their owner. I'd wager the rest is in transit to Valhalla to try and fix the mess left by their absence. Through Odin's vile rumours, a mob was raised against Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant. Thormur, the giant stonemason, struck his warlike son in the heat of a quarrel. Oh, I should say not. But this was long ago, and they were eager to make a name for themselves. Rather overdid it with that one, methinks. By the time I arrived, I already knew Odin by his reputation, and so I set to demonstrate my worth by coming to him with something I knew he'd value. A mystic well of knowledge. Well, I felt my duty to Odin had evolved. Good luck, friends! Well, I nearly lost a tooth. Sorry, overstepped, yeah? Ah, out here just to breathe the ash, then? Freedom comes at a price, milady. It's difficult to be happy about anything when you're a reanimated head. I'm grateful we were able to set the Valkyries free. But so much of this could have been avoided, if only... Oh, I'm not alive, lad. I'm reanimated, sure, but make no mistake, I'm still quite dead. I'll never be what I once was. She won't want this for her son. Trust me. Going to have to break both chains, I'm afraid. Her father was Thiotzi, who could take the shape of any wild creature, and taught Skadi how to hunt them all. Frustrated, Odin visited his fury upon the giants of Midgard. I was there. I saw the Aesir laugh as Hrungnir leapt upon his shield and swore he'd kill us all and take our womenfolk back to Jotunheim. I've seen enough of war between the gods. But you, little brother, who can say? No. Instead, the Aesir set forth slanders upon Starkath's name, branding him throughout the realms as a monster to be feared. Ah, and here we have Eir, the healer. Och, that's nice. We weren't far from it on our way to Thormur's chisel. The entrance is to the left of the two oarsmen statues. Happy to be on your side, brother. Swallows death, brings forth life. He set about to broker a peace between the gods. How about that? A young Jotun with us the whole time, And the son of Laufey, the just! Oh, I should have seen it before!
Brother, the harpoon's keeping us anchored in place. Free us!
Aye, lad.
Lucky break that was.
Now that Freya's given you the travel rune to Helheim, it should be unlocked on the table. Aye, Magni and Modi. Two bigger twits you won't likely find in the halls of Asgard. They'll do anything their uncle puts them up to. Balder of Asgard just knocked on your door.
I believe our story was in need of a conclusion.
Feeling shame and regret, Thamur chased after his son, but in his emotional state soon found himself wandering Midgard, lost and alone. Sadly, he caught the eye of the one person he didn't want to meet alone that night, so far from home. Thor. No earthly key nor physical force can get past the magic of that lock. Don't even look at it. Information and secrecy? Sounds like Odin.
Ah, a timely hint for something we've figured out ourselves.
Aye.
Whatever you do, just be careful.
They said he abducted an elf queen who killed herself rather than be ravished by the giant. Lies, of course, but you're too young for her story. You sure you'd... Aye. Thanks to Odin, with good reason.
Ah, Niflheim.
Not sure why anyone would want to come here, but here we are.
Oh.
Thamur was a frost giant. When he died, his final breath froze everything.
This one's hurting back here.
You're set. Better not to linger here, though, eh?
Zeus? Your father was Zeus?
Well, that explains a lot. Never go there. Understand? Well, they did not take me into their confidence about that, Odin's convictions to the contrary. But I know this. If I'd spent the better part of 60 winters seeing my best and brightest cut down by Thor and that damn hammer, I might very well go home to lick my wounds. Find me a boat, and we'll go from there. Sorry, lads. Thought that would work. The Bridge of the Damned. And there's the keeper, making sure the dead are really dead. Let that be a lesson, my son. Truth is seldom so pretty as myth and legend.
What good's a shield if you're not going to use it?
Oh, well, the giants are the Aesir's oldest enemies. They're fated to wage a successful war against the gods during Ragnarok. Things don't end well for him and the Aesir, or even the world for that matter. Odin hopes to prevent the army of giants from ever forming. Ah, smells not as bad as I thought it'd be. Bit like heather ale fermenting. Rather pleasant, actually.
Hover the chisel over the face of the tablet. When you've found the hidden rune, you'll feel something.
Should do. With that, we can carve the travel rune to Jotunheim. Get you where you need to go. Oh, incidentally, all those magically sealed doors we've seen can now be unlocked. Like that one round the corner. Aye, Frigg. Well, that's more of a pet name, you see. It means beloved, something Odin called Freya after they wed. Out of affection at first, or so I like to believe. As things turned sour, it became a way to manipulate the truth. I am? Oh, that's it precisely. I wonder how long that's been so. Since she had my head at her mercy, or back when I figured out Balder's weakness.
Brother, it's time to go.
Interesting thought, lad. And it makes sense. Nearly everything about dragons is useful and contains power. Teeth, scales, even excrement.
Oh, silly.
Nope, we've lost it. Well, that's a sight no man should ever see.
Thanks for that.
Ready? Not exactly, lad. Although that is what they're most famous for, and by far their greatest responsibility. You've seen what happens to the dead without the judgment of the Valkyries. Concerning Groa, the Knowledge Keeper, by agreeing to the marriage, they'd have to escort Freya back to their realm.
Injured one back here.
Oh, you meant the boy, of course. Hold on, wait a minute. This isn't going to work. I don't mean to hurry you, but... Faster? Well, let's look at what we know. Balder is Odin's finest tracker bar none. If he wants you, you have to consider the possibility that Odin wants you. And as for what Odin wants, on this I have some expertise. The peace held, and I truly believed all had worked out better than I could have planned. Let's see, my first job. Right, me and my mates in the employ of a fairy king.
You missed some back here.
What's moving? No! God's two must stay on the path, I promise you.
The boy's down.
Staying afloat in the hollowed husk of a tree, the frost giant Bergelmir endured, as did his lady wife. I'm sure it's nothing. He just said the boy seemed familiar to him. Where were we then? Oh yes, my career.
Fire left side.
I never claimed to be perfect, laddie, only clever. And often too clever by half. This is none other than Geirdriful, the master of arms in Valhalla, responsible for arming and training Odin's Einherjar. When the hammer was produced as the wedding dowry, Thor revealed himself. He took back Mjolnir and wasted no time in smashing Thrym's skull, followed by every other giant present for the festivities. He thought I said you were friends of Odin. You'll forgive me. I've never spoken the ancient tongue sober. It's true. Each side believes itself the rightful keepers of the light and argue they're simply fighting for survival. But the fact of the matter is, the war has been going on so long, they don't know who they are without it. Truly, she deserves better than she got. But of course, there's more to that story. Escape hell as soon as possible. How about the warm confines of anywhere bloody else? Aye, but his hidden vault is very much in reach. The doors are beneath his temple, submerged in the lake for generations until our snake friend shifted his weight. There we shall find the fabled Black Rune of Jotunheim. From there things unravelled quickly. Yes, those blades will serve quite well in Helheim. Might do more besides. Try using them to ignite that icy bramble there, covering the travel stones. Well, he might become everyone's concern if you don't do something. You don't have to be the smartest man in the world to see that. It's in his blood our story starts. A dwarf! A greedy little bugger. Thormur wished to train his son Hrimthur as a stonemason, but the boy yearned for battle. Not sure she wants to be found. I just don't understand why she would do this. It doesn't make a lick of sense. I suppose that's one way to put it. Well, now that we've got the giant's chisel, we need to learn the travel rune to Jotunheim, so we can carve it into that special gateway atop the peak and open realm travel to the land of the giants. He's already agreed to let us look for my eye in his belly. Best get it over with. By serving peace, I served his interests as well. That's the truth. But he saw it as disloyalty. We should keep an eye on him. Skadi succumbed to her fate as winter's blanket fell, holding her father as the mountain held her in an embrace to last eternity. Magically sealed, I'm afraid. I can't see. Is she still there? No longer trusting my motives but not wishing to part with my brain or tongue, he bound me to a tree and adopted a new pastime of casual torture. Right then, where were we? Yes. Well, that was useless. We'd better go see what the world serpent has to say about that. Move it or you may lose it, brother. Not entirely sure this is seaworthy. Aye, but his hidden vault is very much in reach. The doors are beneath his temple, submerged in the lake for generations until our snake friend shifted his weight. There we shall find the fabled Black Rune of Jotunheim. Let's see, Thrym the Cunning. Where were we? Stands to reason the second ring should behave like the first. Just need to capture the winds. Brother, the boy! It was about Skadi, queen of the hunt. Skoll and Hoti, the wolf giants, were captured as pups by Odin. You just can't help but break things, can you? You had posed an excellent question. Why would Odin set Skoll and Hoti to chase the sun if it helped fulfill the prophecy of Ragnarok? I know why. You know why. He is. It's shocking every time I hear it, and yet obviously I know it. But when I think about Balder and Freya, Aye, and those dead of disease, mishap, age. I happen to think he looks dashing. You know, for a snow-covered corpse. Your father won't let me go, Balder, and he won't let you kill me. You have nothing to offer me, so take your questions, take your threats, take these two worthless wankers, and piss off! I can tell you all about Surtur sometime, when we've got a nice boat ride and not everything is on fire. Yeah, I got that. So you want a corker, do you? Very well, my brothers. I'll tell you the story of Hrungnir, the brawler. The real story. Wouldn't you agree, brother? Nightmares, ugh! What awful pests! And he proved cunning enough to make off with Mjolnir while the Thunder Lummox slept. Thor arrives at the palace in Asgard to find Hrungnir, the simple stone giant, carousing on Odin's mead. Interesting. But can we reach it? Nope, still kinked. Just old spirits, I suppose. Leftover victims of the Mad Dwarf's reign. Still, that's rather ominous. For desecration, typically. Pieces of scattered corpse make for a piss-poor soul. No hope for Valhalla or Helheim when your arm's on one beach and your head's on another. Thor is so startled by the face full of rock. He doesn't notice Hrungnir's body topple right onto him with a sickening crunch. You handled yourself okay back there? From Ymir's torn flesh, Odin would fashion the realm of Midgard for his own. Love and hate are more closely intertwined than you might imagine.
Oughtn't we get to the boat, brother?
Oh, good. More creatures. Or the Huldra brothers. Well, who doesn't? They're quite famous, or infamous, depending on your point of view. They crafted Mjolnir, you see. Thor's hammer, the Aesir's greatest murder weapon, the bane of giant kind. I doubt it's a coincidence. Oh dear, here they come.
Bit drafty, maybe, but it's a right improvement over having tree bark in your tadger.
And not as simple as that, I'm afraid. Maybe both wind traps need to be filled?
Ah, never knew this was here. What little I know about where Odin may have kept her Valkyrie wings. Seems she's rather bent on reclaiming her warrior spirit. I'm afraid the cycle of vengeance may not be so easily broken.
What now, then? Maybe Freya ought to have a look at the boy.
Oh, he was rightly impressed.
If I recall, we had begun to discuss the origin of Ymir, the first giant. Well, that's enough for the time being. That really does sting! It was about Surt the fire giant, and we were just coming to his flaming sword. Did not leave her in the best of moods, did you? Frankly, I'm surprised you'd want to come back here.
Air was strange, as a matter of fact. Very quiet, very calm.
Where her sisters were violent rapids, the air was a gentle stream. She healed the wounds of both mortals and gods, and even a certain all-knowing sage who once drank too much and fell off a mountain. Brother, your son's down! Some weakness he may have built in, structural or magical, which I expect will be exploited come Ragnarok when Surtur arrives to burn Asgard to ash. If not sooner. Well, brothers, I've been to many strange places, but this will be a new one. Well then, enjoy any good meals lately? No? How about some truly depraved whoring, eh? Surely you've had some fun rolling around under the skins with a nice, buxom lass? Listen closely now. We need two things to get us into the land of the giants. First, we need to learn the travel rune that opens realm travel to Jotunheim. Second, we need to carve that rune into the special gateway. Then enter little Magni and Modi, no taller than shrubs. And while nobody but myself was looking, they flipped over Hrungnir's corpse and freed their father. No, we're still on the realm travel bridge. We're after the Bridge of the Damned. The dead use it to cross into their permanent home, the city of Helheim. The bridgekeeper who minds admission, he's the one we want. Just follow this bridge. Should lead us straight to him.
I don't think the lad's doing too well.
Winds of Hell? Maybe we can get up to one of those balconies for a better look. Let's bookmark that. Ah, clever. Of course, laddie, and yours for the asking, but I prefer the boat. In here is distracting. Right then, I just started a story earlier. It's true. She had help from her sisters, of course, but Gunnar was always first to arrive. Her judgment of the fallen was unparalleled, and an invaluable resource to Odin. She was one of his favourites. Oh, sorry, lad. The sight of Gondul always took my breath away. Gondul had a silver tongue, a sharp wit, and struck a figure so stunning it literally drove men insane. Odin forbid her from setting foot in Midgard after a time, as insanity is not a welcome trait in Valhalla. Odin had persuaded Tyr that the hammer was merely a deterrent, a means to broker peace from a position of strength. Thor took advantage and ripped off one of Starkath's arms, which only made it easier to sever another and another until he was satisfied. Neithines are ancient curses, old magic, best to avoid. Fafnir was a rather interesting fellow, little brother. Perhaps I'll tell you his story one day. We'll just pick this up at a later time. Smarter than all the dead ones, too. Well, lads, I don't know what lies ahead, but now would be a good time to make sure your gear is ready for the worst. Anything you need to do, I'd do it now. Just some sage advice. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. Tyr believed the mind, not might, was key to preventing war and chaos. And he also knew visiting other cultures would give him perspective staying in one place could not. While Odin always hoarded knowledge, guarding it jealously, Tyr was open and sharing with his learning and his wisdom. For this, mortals adored Tyr, showing their love by bringing him gifts the world over. Oh, remind me to tell you that story. Nearly there now. Oh, no offence, brother, but I don't even think Thor with Mjolnir in hand could get through that much ice. Feeling shame and regret, Thormur chased after his son, but in his emotional state soon found himself wandering Midgard, lost and alone. As Sigrun mentioned, Odin and Freya had a falling out. He ripped her wings off and stripped her of all titles. The Valkyries were devastated, and Freya, well, let's not mention any of this to her, eh? It's a bit of a sore spot, to say the least. Oh, well, I now realise this would be a wholly inappropriate story for young and innocent ears. I never had the pleasure. Laufey was a rumour in the halls of Asgard, a giantess warrior who thwarted many an Aesir god's plans, freeing those who they would enslave, feeding those who they would starve, generally making a nuisance of herself in the most noble of ways. Thor was terribly frustrated he could never find her to fight. Once my imprisonment began, I could only wonder what became of her, and who she would turn out to be. Yours is quite a singular lineage, lad. Ahem. It's time I told you of the giant Thormur. The tip of one, yes. A very, very giant chisel. You know, I'd really hoped never to see this place again. Odin is extremely clever, you see. Nearly as clever as he thinks he is. And he's a collector of prophecies. If it's about the future, he adds it to his collection. Helps him style himself as all-seeing and all-knowing. But of course, the idea is control. Control of the future, control of his fate. He'd control every realm of every land in every world if he could. Every potential pocket of resistance he seeks to eliminate. Even if you've never posed a threat before, he may think one day you might. So you see, it's not important how he knew before you did. It's important that he was right. Precisely the question, lad. Thrym, the cunning frost giant king, had stolen Mjolnir while Thor slept.
The tower. It's absorbing the stone's energy.
Well, for a long time my job was to enable Odin, and I was fucking excellent at it. That chamber held a special significance for them. We'll find something there, I'm certain of it. Well, one inner sanctum within another. Laddie, have you ever heard the term tempting fate? Well, we had history, I guess you could say. Imagine breathing it in from your throat stump. Aye, a god of war, but one who fought for peace. Had a reputation for being heroic and lawful, using his power and knowledge to stop wars rather than start them. Hrimthur made short work of it, of course. He had the benefit of his father's training and the aid of a magical stallion for fetching stones. Odin met him wandering in Midgard one day, found him so amusing, so harmless, so gullible, that he invites him back to his palace in Asgard. Glad to see you're paying attention, brother. You are correct. Valhalla, the great hall of the Einherjar, is their home within Asgard. But while there, they are subject to the scrutiny of the All-Father himself, and relations between the Valkyries and Odin were tense during my tenure as his advisor. I'm at a loss. I assure you have no reason to keep such a thing a secret. Are we currently in much danger? I can't tell from back here. Get us there. It only takes us halfway to Tyr's temple, but at least it gets us far from here. Aye, and a bloody infinite number of traps. I came here on a diplomatic mission once, trying to broker a peace between Asgard and Vanaheim. That war. So many lives lost. What I didn't know was Thor had already gone on a killing spree of giants. That's right! Freya was Baldur's mother all along. Oh, we forgot to mention that. When you were sick, we went to Helheim to get your cure. I don't think they're the kind that come to life, if that's what you're worried about. Tyr often said that in the world of peace he envisioned, the only soldiers he'd need would be statues. Bless his heart, but the bugger did take himself rather seriously, didn't he? You see, the light elves and dark elves... Oh, I felt that one, brother. By night, my mates and I had the run of the forest. Odin knew that Skadi could not resist the temptation to prove herself superior. If memory serves, the Jarl's throne was just on the other side of that wall of ice. Aye, and a bloody infinite number of traps. This isn't right, brother. We need a shortcut between realms. The one next to the dwarf's shop. He granted her so many wishes I can scarcely recall them all. Starkath, the mighty eight-armed giant, had surrendered in hopes to clear his name. When the sun and moon refused to rise and set, Odin cast the wolf giant Skoll and Hoti into the heavens to give chase. Thor was no use at this point, his brain rattled, his breath shallow, but none of Odin's men were nearly strong enough to help. Now I believe I was just acquainting Odin with my mystic well of knowledge. Not sure they even have a choice in the matter, lad. Aye, Baldur is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical.
Give your father room.
Surely that's enough of that. After so much time together, he knew her vulnerabilities and exploited them to craft curses she could never break.
Ah, Alfheim. I missed its gentle breeze and the sweet smell of honeysuckle and blood.
Well, judging by the sky, the light elves are in control of the light this time. Tyr's own design. He made this door himself. Aye, lad. On to the Rokstol of Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. That's the spirit.
She was a gifted sorceress who gathered every tome of arcane wisdom she could find in the realms, all in the hopes of augmenting her powers of prophecy that she might find her lost husband, Arvandil.
Odin captured them as pups and kept them in the kennels of Asgard to hold his foe at bay.
That would explain the hefty magical lock on the outside.
Ah, the great dining hall, envy of all Midgard. Funny, I remember there being a massive candelabrum. Really livened up the place. Back when Ymir first emerged from Ginnungagop, it was Surt who followed next. Good. Now put my lips to the horn. Not just the old and sick come to Helheim. So do the criminals. Hell must not draw a distinction between us and those whom these visions are meant to torture. There's no travel crystal. Tyr must have used his own eyes to refract the energy. It was his final failsafe. Aye, and I've a feeling there are more out there. We best keep an eye out, if you're up for playing hero, of course. The Dvegrathikr, the very armour you find yourself searching for. Though he found 2, I'd wager his failure to find the 3rd ingredient drove him to madness. Tyr always believed the best in people, and taking Odin at his word in his desire for peace, he brought the Raven King to Jotunheim. We can't just leave her like this, brother. Well, turns out stopping time keeps the sun and moon from streaking across the sky. Unfortunately, it does not stop the wolves that chase them, always looking to sink their teeth in. After that, they decided it was best to leave time alone. Vanir magic is powerful, but its rules are slippery and elusive. I'm sure it makes sense if you're a witch. Oh, but it's also bloody tragic. Baldur was the greatest gift Odin granted Freya, the one thing she treasured from their marriage. She only hoped to spare him pain and spare herself loss. But such impulses can lead good parents to make terribly stupid decisions. Sounds like Njord to me. Affable fellow, formidable drinker. The Vanir always were a more personable sort of god than the Aesir. Aye, lad. On to the Rokstol of Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. I'd suggest we look inside, but stay alert. Tyr's little challenges are never as simple as they appear. Correct. Whatever happened to it, I believe it could only have been done with Tyr and the giants working together. Once he longed to fight Thor, but tragedy had brought wisdom to Hrimthor and cunning. His destiny is to fall at the hands of Thor and Odin, but in so doing, strike the blow that leaves their realm in ash and ruin. The torrent of Ymir's blood had washed away the Jotnar. There it is. The Jotnar were unprepared, as the very last of them were washed away in the endless tide. Well, if things work according to plan... Correct. Except the giants, in their infinite wisdom, saw to it that no ordinary chisel would do the job. Only the tip of a magical chisel opens that gate. Luckily, I know where it is, and it's not far. Well, that's new. Well, are we going to fight her, or just stare at her all day? That's the mystery we're trying to solve, milady. Can you think of any reason she would have to do this? Freya was better to him than he deserved. Then I persuaded him it has been his sacrifice made for an even higher form of sight to be bestowed. Blah, de blah, de blah, de blah. Just go, brother. Correct. A cunning one as well. We need only conclude the Song of Bergelmir, founder of Jotunheim, who chose love instead of revenge. Well, this seems frustrating. Perhaps we should keep an eye out for binding shrines and free the poor bastard. Aye, lads? His vengeance was to live and prosper. Have I told you the one about the nightmare and the ogre? He took back Mjolnir and wasted no time in smashing Thrym's skull, followed by every other giant present for the festivities. Odin sought to undo Starkath, the mighty 8-armed giant, but not by direct attack. And you've lost it. Try again, brother. I, for one, never doubted. We really should expect that sort of response at this point. They were born of the archwolf Hrothwitnir, a great nemesis of the Aesir gods. Odin captured them as pups and kept them in the kennels of Asgard to hold his foe at bay. I suppose we can't rule it out, But Odin's ways are subtle, and his purposes are... We're not reaching that platform. I used to think he never caught on. But the day he took my eye, I realised he had never been fooled. Let me take this moment to tell you that what you are about to do is absolutely insane. Not even Odin can survive this cold. So, I hope those blades work. Muspelheim runes? No, not much opportunity for correspondence there. More just showed up back here. I truly do hate this part. He taught her well. Couldn't agree more, brother. Yeah. I'm turned around. Which way is the sandbowl back up? Why the arcane runes? Perhaps we're meant to find something in Muspelheim and Niflheim. Skadi tracked the eagle as it flew where she alone could glide, and loosed an arrow from her unerring bow. Ominous. Whoa! Don't count the dwarves out, lad. They're right pricks, but they're resourceful. They once made an unbreakable chain out of little more than a cat's footstep and bird spit. My guess? Temporal magic. Dangerous stuff the High Vanir gods used to play around with. The ability to freeze time. Happened to be a favourite of Njord himself, in fact. The entrance to Tyr's vault is at the bottom of these stairs, whenever you decide it's time to go after the Black Rune, yeah? Sadly for Thrym, he didn't always think with his brain. Though he had robbed the greatest giant killer of his greatest weapon, he offered to trade it back to the Aesir in exchange for Freya as his bride. Hope you know what you're doing. Not sure where you get sad from all the roaring and fire-breathing, lad. That lock needs a gust of hell's wind to open it. That's right. Rota, Gunnar, Skuld. Without them to clean up the aftermath of battle, hell overflows with souls meant for Valhalla. A sorry state of affairs. Rota must be beside herself. There are many legends behind the Dvegrathikr. A suspicious amount of legends, which makes confirming anything about this particular armour difficult. But the one constant among them is the ability of the armour to offer ultimate protection. A useful attribute for an unpopular king, you see. No idea, brother. But after that fall, I'm sure we're past the worst of it. Reminds me of something I'd seen Tyr sketch. He liked to combine various symbols into runes all his own. This one, I believe, means... Looks like polite conversation isn't an option. Wind's out. Aye, give him what for. The Aesir gods slandered the noble giant Starkath with vile rumours. Aye, lad. A forgotten city. Well, turning dragon hasn't done much for his personality. I know I've been up in a mountain for a while now, but since when do the dead not stay dead? A little resurrection among friends is one thing. I can hardly complain. But it's as if hell itself is shambling into Midgard. Odin's eye is on you, brother, especially now that you've taken to killing his kin. Freya's forest is a blind spot for him. This is our smartest move. And if anyone can heal him, it's her. Tyr's braziers, a symbol of the light that binds all realms together. I was going to tell you of Skoll and Hoti, the bringers of day and night. I believe I was saying the Aesir had power, but lacked for strategy. Ah, that would be Groa, the knowledge keeper. All right, the stonemason's son Hrimthur, he builds Asgard a great wall and demands his prize. You're moving a bit slow. To truly embrace your purpose, and the patience and sacrifice it demands, is to ensure your day will come. He was strong, to be sure, but also a perfect simpleton. Aye, for a time. Oh, don't worry. I'm sure they'll be back to yelling at each other momentarily. So, if you remember, I'd started a doozy of a story earlier, to protect him from himself. Brother, the boy's down! It was to be his masterwork. He only wanted to protect his people. Bergelmir never sought revenge for Odin's slaughter. Not evil. You killed her son, lad. Her son. The death of a child is not something a parent gets over easily. Lad, there comes a time in every man's life when he changes his name and heads north to make a new start. Brother, no! It's quite ridiculous. Oh, don't mistake me, brother. From what I heard, the Pantheon had it coming. But it's still a bit to take in. I knew you hate gods, but you really can't stay away from them, can you? 'Tis a great mystery, even amongst the sons of Ivaldi. Motsognir's behaviour before his disappearance grew increasingly erratic. Lads, am I glad to see you. I believe I've reached my limit for dwarven charm. Brothers, be warned. The tunnels I'm seeing in the walls up here show signs of recent dragon activity. Ah, yes. It was believed that Njord calmed the winds and seas for the fishermen. For that they loved and worshipped him here. Yes, this isn't at all terrifying, is it? Not sure what happens when we recklessly upend a room that's rooted to 8 other realms. I'm curious, of course. but it's a leap to imagine it gets us to Jotunheim.
Freyr has a long history with the elves, one of the few gods welcome here.
Seeking revenge on Skadi the Huntress, Odin spread rumours that Aesir were plagued by an eagle. Eats away at you, doesn't it? Locked doors. Well, you gentlemen certainly know how to get around. That's putting it mildly, brother.
Conansgard was a beautiful land in its heyday,
before the Dwarf King's obsession poisoned his mind.
Dark elf behind you, brother!
Thrym's palace was in Jotunheim, and only giants know the way. By agreeing to the marriage, they'd have to escort Freya back to their realm. So, Odin coerced Freya into using her Seithar magics to conceal Thor, so he could sneak along with her and infiltrate Jotunheim. Sadly for Thrym, he didn't always think with his brain.
Few do, laddie.
Start some trouble. You can do that, right? Well, I forgot. Well, Hildr, mistress of battle. She and Odin got on quite well, actually. Her and the other Valkyries, not so much. She would spend most of her time here in Midgard observing discord between the living, and sewing some up herself from time to time. She lived for conflict. Some say she was conflict personified. I wonder what will become of her now that she's free. Ah, lad, you're making me blush, I think. Can I still blush? That's talking about Odin. He's known by many names. Not all of them nice. Not at all. Freya was Queen of the Valkyries at one point. Part of her marriage dowry included overseeing the Valkyries themselves. As a powerful Vanir goddess, they revered her. I never knew how much until now. Called himself All-Father, as if he was the creator, and not the creator's destroyer. We'd come to the part where Thor caught up with Hrimthur, and slew the stonemason's son. Odin was not happy to find himself on the losing end of the wager, but he seemed to uphold his end of the bargain. Regardless, it sounds like we did the right thing. We should look for more of these Valkyries. Happily, my boy. It involves your friend Freya, too, though I don't expect it's one she'd enjoy being reminded of. The giant was called Thrym. Why would I know that? Hrungnir, the simple-minded stone giant, was invited by Odin to his palace in Asgard. Thor's massacre at the wedding of Thrym the Cunning was finally put to a halt by our friend Freya. You're familiar with the tale of Skoll and Hoti, bringers of day and night. With magics they expelled Odin from their realm and cursed him never to return. So then, Hrimthur, the stonemason's son in disguise, offered to fix Asgard's walls. Could be quite a wait.
Brother! Get up, brother!
Betrayal begets betrayal. I guess the young one murdering his dad didn't sit well with the others. Look there, lad. By his feet, Hrungnir's stone head is smashed to pieces by Thor's hammer. Somebody just called the serpent. It's my career! And if you mean to make your career as a counsellor to kings, he can't very well rule out petty maniacs. Available positions are scarce enough.
Well, this is certainly more interesting than being stuck in a tree.
That totem contains a powerful source of magical energy, the very power of Helheim itself. But what you want is his heart. Just take it and we can leave. Well, I think you've gotten pretty good at that.
The boy, he needs help.
We'd get up to all manner of mischief, making fools of the local mortals. But as long as our lord was kept amused, we were spared the consequences. Thor smashes the stone head of Hrungnir, who falls upon him with a sickening crunch. Hidden inside that tablet is a mystical rune that creates the magical seal keeping that door locked. Use our chisel to find the binding points of a hidden rune so we can dispel it. No, because I wisely fortified myself with 16 cups of Billow Maiden's ale. Got so inebriated I tried convincing the giants to put him in my nipples instead. Almost talked them into it too. Can you imagine? Mimir of the Bifrost teats. Those were the days. Thank you, brother. You don't miss depth until it's gone. Thor statu ini smuthu fa. Oh. He thinks it might still be in his stomach. And he's open to letting you row into his mouth to look inside. Oh, by the by, he's not wild about it either. My, yes, those blades will serve quite well in Helheim. Now, I believe I see a door to the realm between realms over there, in your own front yard, no less. Take the shortcut back to the realm travel temple, then on to Helheim, yeah? Oh, neat trick, lad. Terrible experience, by the by. Your dad picked up a new trick, though, with a little help from Brock. Surt the Brave forged his sword of flame for one purpose alone: to burn down Asgard when Ragnarok comes at last.
Well, this is a fine mess.
And at last, it seems, with Tyr's aid, they retreated. The tower disappeared, no giants could be found in Midgard, and no man nor god has set foot in Jotunheim since.
Not gonna make that.
I was telling you of Bergelmir and his wife, lost upon an endless ocean of blood.
That's it, brother. Dispel it.
Except for one thing. You are headed for Jotunheim, so he was right. Olrun, once the daughter of a powerful chieftain, she fell defending him during a Reaver attack. Olrun was escorted to Valhalla, where she chose to devote her afterlife to the pursuit of knowledge above all else. Quite unusual behaviour amongst the constant drinking and feasting of her fellow Valhallian denizens. Well, why would he? He's a pre-Bergelmirian giant. Muspel was his home long before the flood. That's better this way, both for him and for everything not on fire. Solving problems with our heads rather than our feet. Suits me fine. Well, I wouldn't say I'm feeling whole again, but it's a right improvement. Aye. Every god, man and beast came first from Mimir's flesh.
We've met.
Do you hear that, brother? Lad's found his equilibrium. Odin schemed to capture the visions of Ragnarok recorded by Groa, the knowledge keeper. I couldn't have been much older than you when I started. A fairy king's errand boy and unofficial jester. Ruthless, barbaric, heartless. That's Odin. In fact, we would do well to sit here in silence for the next few moments and reflect on Odin's capacity for cruelty. Thor unleashed Mjolnir's might upon any giant he could find. None could stand against the tide of slaughter that followed. Well, that's awfully cheerful coming from you. Your dad's a wee bit single-minded, isn't he, lad? I think you're right, but we still need the key. Starkath, the mighty and many-limbed giant, whose praises I should have known better than to sing. I'll finish later, lad. Might want to start heading to a mist-free area. Thormur, the giant stonemason, struck his warlike son in the heat of a quarrel, and the boy ran off into the night. Thanks, a weapon of legend.
Watch your back! Come on, get up, brother!
Aye. There aren't many happy endings for the giants, I'm afraid. He would ever be known as Bergelmir the Beloved. You two don't look so good. No living thing may she harm by blade nor spell.
That doesn't seem to be working, brother.
Be grateful it works at all. Ah, aren't you a quick study? But we will have to conclude this later. Something to be solved with our heads rather than our feet. Suits me fine. Oh, hey, what season is it? Is it getting colder? Hard to tell when you're embedded in a tree. Tell me, are the chill winds blowing in from the east yet? Odin had invited Hrungnir to his palace in Asgard, getting the simple giant drunk to amuse the court. Ha! I guess the temple was made to be flipped. I'm afraid the winds have dissipated, brother. Well, that's a bit of a story, actually. Fishermen would bring their day's catch into this port and use that contraption to send some of it directly to the Jarl's main kitchen. The rest were sorted and sold. If I'm not mistaken, we've yet to discuss the tale of the giant Bergelmir. I'm biting my tongue. They said he abducted an elf queen who killed herself rather than be ravished by the giant. Lies, of course, but you're too young for her story. In the end, even the Vanir gods and the armies of Midgard were roused to the cause. After completing his father's masterwork, the Great Wall of Jotunheim, he thought of nothing but making the Aesir pay for their crimes against the giants. We return to Odin's mortal wounding of the giant Ymir.
Fire, right side!
It's a council chamber of sorts, hidden away in Midgard. The Valkyries would often need a place to confer outside of Odin's prying eyes. They thought themselves properly concealed, but the All-Father sees all, so the saying goes. Sadly, he caught the eye of the one person he didn't want to meet alone at night so far from home. Thor. The tale of Bergelmir begins in an ocean of blood.
Brother, the boy. You have to get into Freya quickly. There's no other way.
Well, this isn't right. But close enough. He did say there were kinks. Nothing at all, lad. That's the tragedy of it. They took no side in that madness. But Odin's paranoia is surpassed only by Thor's lust for blood. They aren't legendary for their social graces, all right?
Left side, brother! More of them!
Give the man credit. He has a talent for destroying things. Maybe you feel a little too good right now. With power comes a big choice, lad. You can either serve yourself or put your godhood in the service of others, like Tyr did. Oh, yes. Oh. Hello, Freya. Been a long time. You look well. I'd bow if I could, Your Majesty. Forgive me. Had I known the witch in the woods was Freya herself, I never would have suggested this. You didn't know either? Sorry. Aye. Magni and Modi, the sons of Thor. Brother, looks like that crystal's brimming again.
Tattle to the left!
We were at... The stonemason's son, plotting revenge, observed the shoddiness of Asgard's walls. You have to get into Freya quickly. There's no other way.
Phew, that's warm. You okay, brother?
This dock can only mean one thing. We are taking a break from this story.
Nightmare on your right!
Mimir, the smartest man alive. I know many things.
Glad I'm on your side.
Not even the finest archer among the gods could bring it down.
Brother! You're on fire, brother!
Did I? All right, brother. Let's see what those blades can do.
Good thing you've got the beard to keep you warm. Wolf on your right!
Oh, nicely done. Keep rowing towards the statues of the oarsmen, then thread past between them. Hey, I wonder if the giants left a triptych about me somewhere too.
Oh, I like that one.
I wonder if I wrote it.
Oh, he's right, you know. I see it too. A place to climb up back where he did the flipping.
In the beginning, there was Ganungagop, the Great Void. There were no realms yet, only primordial forces. There was fire, and there was ice, and there in the void they met and produced...
Left side, heavy drogger!
He was a very giant, who, despite his mountainous size, was without question the greatest stonemason this world had ever seen. More of a swordsman. He did only have the 2 eyes.
You gonna be all right?
Aye, but he was loved by everyone, including the giants. Other than me, he was the only one they gifted with their special sight. They were born of the archwolf Hrothwitnir, a great nemesis of the Aesir gods, regarding Ymir. Primordial fire and ice met in the great void, producing water.
Time to do what you do, brother. The Rokstol of Valkyr.
It was about the giant with 8 arms, Starkath the Mighty. Skoll and Hoti, the wolf giants, bring us day and night by chasing the sun and moon, and they shall, until the day they catch them.
You'll feel a mystical pulse when the hidden rune senses the chisel over it.
That's right, milady. You are free. I can't say for sure, lad. We should ask more of them. If, of course, you don't mind the distraction. We need to talk, brother. You do realise it's over, don't you? Even if we make it back to Midgard, you and Balder destroyed the only gate to Jotunheim. We are out of options. And that boy up there, he's in 9 kinds of pain. His head's turned so far around he... Aye. When I saw her last, she was different. Changed. And not just that she was in physical form. She was more volatile. I tried to talk to her about it, but she had just come to say goodbye. I didn't think. It'll serve. You already do, laddie. Your faculty for language is extraordinary for one so young. Time alone will tell what else you'll become capable of. Odin came to regard him as a threat to his rule. He suspected Tyr of collaborating to aid the giants instead of helping to steal their secrets for the Aesir. The same thing he accused me of, frankly. Though in Tyr's case, I believe he was right. That's right. The bringers of day and night. Sigrun, the queen of the Valkyries. She would have that power. The last time I saw her, she was corporeal herself. She came to visit me long after I'd been imprisoned by Odin. Or I can just tell you this story later. Odin had that statue made in honour of Thor. And seeing as the world serpent absolutely abhors the fat dauber, he was probably sick of looking at it. Well, he and Thor have a bit of an unpleasant history between them. Or they will, anyway. So I guess waking up to see it was worse than the thought of lumps of solid stone passing through his gullet. You want me to ask him? All right, wish me luck. Ha ha! Yumur en Mimir. I've still got it, lads. He remembers me. Why you... Oh, no, that's not right. Mokuno untun kun. Oh dear, kono thuno vunora. He knows the pain of your loss. He will help you. Efniun fogur. Curious. Oh, nothing to be concerned about. Making sure we're headed in the right direction. Well, we did it, I suppose. She became a huntress beyond compare, even to any god. Aye, lad. On to the Rokestol of Valkyrs then. If you remember, it's next to the 2 oarsmen statues on the path we took to Thamur's chisel. Hell Reaver on your right! That's dwarven creativity for you. Impressive and dangerous. Magni, being blonder, got all the credit, and Modi remained bitter about it from that day to the end, which I don't need to tell you about. Ah, you know this one, don't you? Sorry I missed that one. On perhaps the biggest iceberg I've ever seen. That's from a great desert land very far from here. Yes, lad. Far be it from me to tell you where to go, but shouldn't we continue on our journey? Beacon behind you, brother! Your son needs you, brother! Perhaps we should keep an eye out for binding shrines and free the poor bastard. Aye, lads? Suit the brave. Thor takes one look at the drunken stone buffoon and brings down Mjolnir on his head so hard that he's got chunks of Hrungnir in his own skull to this day. If you live long enough to do this many times over, you might end up as far north as this place. Right then, we were in the middle of a story, weren't we? The only thing that put a stop to it was Freya, who wanted no part of this massacre. Well done, lad. Did I? But Balder is blessed with invulnerability to all threats, physical or magical. Worse still, he robbed her of her warrior spirit. Aye, doesn't like music either. Got it! I sometimes wonder if there was once some sort of accident in his brain. Oh dear, that is what you're thinking, isn't it? Worse still, he robbed her of her warrior spirit. Freya cannot fight, even to defend herself. No living thing may she harm by blade nor spell. In a world this belligerent, what choice does she have but isolation? We shouldn't delay. The shortcut between realms, brother. Use it. Let's pick this up later, then. We had come to Bergelmir and his queen, and the founding of a new realm. Odin put Skoll and Hoti in the sky for purposes of control. Our young god knows no fear. You all right, brother? Just time enough for the finale of our prior tale. Sorry, brother, I'm still stuck on what I heard back there. Zeus was your father? Minor Aesir, perhaps. But aye. My first master was a cruel piece of work as well, but I learned through him the enduring power of wit, which served me well with kings and gods alike. Thrym's palace was in Jotunheim, and only giants know the way. But no, as Odin's advisor, I kept him advised, and having bent his will towards Starkath's doom, there was no dissuading him. The apple doesn't fall far. Never seen one of those before. They looked like they walked straight out of hell. Sigrun hated Odin, no doubt about that. But her duty, her responsibility, would she really forsake these things to get back at Odin? I don't believe it. You two make quite a formidable duo. Aye, and his feet as well. Time doesn't move the same between all realms, especially where the spirit world is concerned. You're on your own with the frontal attacks, brother. There's an injured one back here. Ah, remind me to tell you why they call him the Lord of the Hanged. Aye, lad. Potently powerful. Thormur, the giant stonemason, distraught after striking his son, became lost in Midgard looking for the boy. More on your left. Oh, let me see. Hrungnir, you see, was born with neither head nor heart. So the giants had to complete him with stone. And with that kind of power, laddie, I must confess, there are perks. She cast a powerful spell that hurtled them both out of Jotunheim with no means of return. Odin was livid, hoping that Thor's foothold in Jotunheim would become his own. And oh, would he ever revenge himself upon Freya? Enough was enough. And at last Odin's most brilliant advisor became determined to find a more enlightened path, rather a trap for the winds of hell. But where do you think the winds are? Don't you have a shield? Mimir, the smartest man alive. I know many things. What is what? I can't see anything back here. No, it's not like I can still see through it. Well, what have we got? Let me see. Great Audhumlazaras. That's the Unity Stone. I wasn't sure it existed. If Tyr possessed this, that explains how he could visit all the realms and other lands to boot. Yes. Yes, that's it. I understand now. It shows Tyr walking the realm between realms. You know how you must never stray from the path? Well, Tyr always followed his own path, if you catch my meaning. Don't you two have more important business to take care of? Take caution, lads. A Valkyrie in the flesh, I can't think of a more formidable opponent. Anything's possible.
What's your right?
Ah, a ski-and do from my homeland. Used to have one of my own back in the day. You should take it, boy. For a while there, he really turned on the charm. He seemed happy. He seemed interested in making her happy. Use the fire of your blades to burn away that hell's bramble blocking the path. And beyond that, hopefully some trace of a secret path to Jotunheim. Well, that's the legend. If you wanted sense, you shouldn't be talking to a severed head. Gently now, gently.
I can't see the front ones, brother.
Brother, you're fading fast. I don't expect it will. Though I don't suppose it will make things any worse either. It'll be one less obstacle for the living to reach the inner sanctum of Helheim. But who'd be mad enough to go there? Tyr was hopeful to convince all parties they would prosper best through peace. Well, lad, reavers have very specific priorities. If it's not shiny and you can't eat or drink it, might as well use it as a blunt object. Thrym the Cunning stole Thor's hammer, and ill-advisedly offered to trade it for Freya's hand in marriage.
Nicely done.
Now that, he thought I said you were friends of Odin. You'll forgive me, I've never spoken the ancient tongue sober. It goes down. Way, way down. That's putting it mildly, brother.
Now the mystical rune's been dispelled and the seal broken. You just used the magic of the giants.
More small passages. Don't know. I've never been in here.
I'd have thought, brother.
Why don't you let the lad carry me for a while?
In that case, we need to sail this boat as far away from here as possible.
Not just hell. Worst place in hell you could have put us.
Aye. Calm and collected. Then the air would shift and the fury of our storm would unleash. 'Twas beautiful in a way, assuming you could find proper shelter.
Her tears would cleanse the blood-soaked battlefields. Freya was sent to meet the mason, and to her surprise, he wanted only to whisper something in her ear. Sadly, despite his wise counsellors' best efforts to persuade him that peace was the only true path to stave off Ragnarok, Odin never let go of his obsession with Jotunheim. The taste of Vanir magic led him to new forms of experimentation and new levels of depravity. As father and mother, they would multiply exceedingly, and as king and queen, they worked to make Jotunheim a land where giants would know no master but themselves. Back then, I was young enough to still be ambitious.
Heavy Draugr behind you! A few extra to deal with back here!
Alas, no. But the serpent did mention that the giants had entrusted that secret to Tyr. Told by the gods, yes, of course. You really are your father's son, you know. Regarding the giant called Thormur.
Hellshadow on your right! There's a hot one back here, brother.
Ragnarok. A long story. Or rather, I should say, a well of water laced with enough mystic mushrooms to make a god see visions. Well, I can't drown. Guess that's something.
What if you tried something else?
Brother, that icy bramble covering the travel stones. Use your blades to clear it away. There's a horn on a platform at the middle point of the bridge. Take me to it. Skifbloth near? Yeah, because it was designed to fly. This was not.
A Valkyrie here in Niflheim? Impossible!
Wouldn't it be nice to find some incense just once? The smell of brimstone gets old quickly.
Brother, the bow of the boat's been harpooned.
It's to the left of the two oarsmen statues. I didn't call it out for what it was at the time. I didn't know for sure. All this could I faithfully provide. Some people value their privacy. Best not to judge, brother. Very strange indeed.
No. That's not Vanaheim. That's the Vanaheim Tower.
And both sides of it are still in Midgard.
Dark Elf behind you. You're rather skilled with those.
He was. And now he's a dragon. Funny how life works, innit?
Trouble finding it?
Keep trying then. But he didn't care. Because his plan was complete. No, brother. Prophecy doesn't expect this for 100 more winters at least. You've changed something. Prophecy didn't count on you.
Starkath the Mighty, he was called.
Well, I did say not to concern yourself. Ah, Fafnir. I always wondered what became of him.
Tattleworm to the right, brother! Shadow to your right, brother!
Well, that's stretching it a bit. No. Well, I don't think so. I thought it best to tell her what she wanted to know before any sather became necessary. I believe we were discussing my youthful ambitions. But when the sun and moon grew mutinous and stood still, Odin put Skoll and Hati to use. Would you believe it slipped my mind?
Behind you!
Not just Ymir, but all of giant kind faced extinction. There was an incident shortly after the forging of Mjolnir, when Tyr arranged a diplomatic meeting between Odin and the giant kings.
Left flank incoming!
Anything you'd like to talk about, brother? Prior to that, wars for the Aesir were easily won. But the Vanir had proved their equal and exacted devastating damage.
There is a touch of mystery about it.
Well, that was mildly terrifying. Maybe our presence is upsetting Jormungandr's belly.
He died at peace, a legion of his kin to mourn him.
Want me to...
The giants anticipated Odin's trickery and exposed his true agenda to spy and steal their secret wisdom.
That, little brother, is what we call an understatement.
I've got an eye. One! Odin plucked out my other eye precisely to keep me from travelling. Perhaps we should strike up a conversation. I'm a bit curious why one would be down here, in physical form no less. But we will have to wait for the conclusion.
Hellreaver behind you!
That refers to a modest example of Odin's thirst for knowledge, the time he spent 9 days a dead man. Aye, hung himself by the neck from Yggdrasil's branches, put his spear through his own side and bled down into the Well of Destiny. He roamed the realms of the dead and plundered the world tree of its secrets, until I think quite rightly it got fed up with him and sent him back to the land of the living. Did I not mention he was barking mad?
Troll behind you, brother!
Reasonable enough.
It can't be that. It's not like you go through Vanaheim to reach the Midgard peak.
Until then, alone he waits in Muspelheim, never sleeping, ever honing his fiery blade. Well, never too late to go out fighting, I suppose.
But it was not her husband she would glimpse in her visions, for it was Groa, seeing longer and farther than any before or since, who witnessed Ragnarok, the end and the beginning.
Brave, generous Surt, who knows he lives but to his doom. Well, it wouldn't be a challenge without a little challenge, would it? The whole realm is a great fire, the source of fire itself, and all the sun and stars, if legend is to be believed. I have an interesting story about this place. Would you like to hear it? Perhaps the father had too much fear in him, or the son too little. Either way, a quarrel of theirs spiralled out of control, and the overworked stonemason, bonk, struck his son. Well, I don't know for certain, though I'd wager his penchant for stealing magical artefacts had something to do with it. Must have stolen a trinket from the wrong Vanir goddess. In the end, even the Vanir gods and the armies of Midgard were roused to the cause. If they even know anything about it.
And they're still there. It's quite a story.
Well, for Thrym, the lesson would be to keep his priorities straight. For Freya, it's that doing good has a price. For Thor, it's that no object of power makes you what you are, and if what you are is the biggest butchering bastard in the 9 realms, nobody can take that away from you. Just when I thought I'd seen it all. Now to the realm travel room and then to Jotunheim. That being done, he made his way out of Asgard. And when he found Thor awaiting him at the gates of Midgard, he knew he had been double-crossed. Aye, lad.
Oh, glad that's over.
No doubt some arcane magics were involved. I would be not at all surprised to learn you were sensitive to that. He's convinced the giants hold the key to changing his fate when Ragnarok comes. They are the Aesir's oldest enemies, after all, and it's their army that's supposed to do him in the end. But more than that, he covets their gifts of prophecy. He wants to know what they know and see what they see. So much suffering could have been avoided if his insatiable curiosity was not so much stronger than his wisdom. Oh, no, this is considerably worse.
Nothing good, lad. And so she joined the hunt.
No, those neither. Not even a bit. They're just elves of another colour. Nobody knows who came first, but they all come from Alfheim.
Draugr behind you, brother!
Take caution, lads. A Valkyrie in the flesh. I can't think of a more formidable opponent. We'll just start that one again later, yeah? Aye, lad. But at least we know where to find Sigrun. Most impressive, brothers. Gunnar, mistress of war. After any conflict, big or small, she would be first on the scene, sussing out the worthy spirits for a free trip to Valhalla. A gruesome task, but she took great pride in it. I do. He felt responsible for the suffering visited upon them by Odin. I suspect he had something to do with helping them cover their tracks. I see you brought company this time. Must be important if the sons of Thor deign to grace me with their presence. Tell me, you two still tripping over yourselves to impress Daddy? I can say with utmost certainty that I've never laid eye on a stranger set of objects in my life. If Brock's been messing at it again, best leave it be. Reality is unstable enough, though it was the Aesir who thought themselves so superior that they should hold dominion over the rest of creation.
I'm certain of it. It's all coming back now.
This is Rota,
a chooser of the slain, more than water. The mystic lifeblood of something entirely new. From this water, Mimir took form and became a being of pure creation and chaos, mother and father to all that came after.
What were we into then? Oh, the revenge plot of Hrimthur, the stonemason's son. Brother, the way to Jotunheim's back in the realm travel room.
Sounds like you've got a handle on everything back there.
Of the Aesir, aye. But his reach is not unlimited, and where he cannot reach, he is preoccupied with going. He's certainly tortured me enough about it over the years.
The fate of the Valkyries, lad. A more worthy endeavour there is not.
I wish I could see what's happening out there. I bet it's entertaining at the very least.
A loving gift from the giants. Since I used to do so much travelling between realms, they thought it would be more convenient for me than having a crystal I could lose. I'm glad you asked, actually. I have just the story for you. We were just starting the tale of the giant Bergelmir. Let's see, my first job. Right. Me and my mates had the run of the forest, as long as we kept the fairy king amused. It all goes back to the long war between the Aesir and Vanir. Though I quite agree. Unless, perhaps, he refers to something yet to be. It is said that when Jormungandr and Thor battle at Ragnarok, their clash so violently shakes the tree of life that it splinters, casting the serpent backward through time, even before his own birth.
You're on fire, Kratos!
Only she could say for certain, but I've had many moons to work it out.
And that day shall be Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods.
Well, she blames me in large measure for her present circumstances, and not totally without reason.
Ah, good. The special chisel is ahead past this gate. Ah, Ratatoskr. Interesting story there. He once...
And again, the roars of laughter echo through the palace halls.
This, my friends, is Kara. Now, Valkyries are volatile by nature, but Kara, the lass is wild storm personified.
Heavy Draugr on your left!
The Aesir gods were as powerful a force as I'd come across, but they clearly lacked for strategy, focus, and sage counsel. We've lingered a bit too long here, eh?
When she collected her quarry, she found no eagle at all,
but her own father, poor Thiotzi, slain by his own daughter. A fair point. Oughtn't we leave well enough alone, brother? I don't know what we'll find when we get to Jotunheim, but we must cover our tracks. Odin's ravens will tell him of the tower's restoration, and we mustn't let our efforts be to his benefit.
Milady, please tell us. Why were you in this physical form? Why fight us?
When Odin caught word of her ultimate prophecy, he manoeuvred to obtain her knowledge and hoard it for himself. Do you want to feed me something and see what happens?
Hell Shadow behind you!
Don't do that.
But Odin's true face showed itself again in the end. Oh, he won Freya's trust, and she taught him some of her Vanir magic, another choice she would live to bitterly regret. Brother, the chisel. Bits of him, yes. The wedding of Freya and Thrym the Cunning was interrupted when Thor recovered his hammer and commenced a slaughter of legendary proportions. Then Thor shows up. And does he laugh? Oh, no. Thor takes one look at the drunken stone buffoon and brings down Mjolnir on his head so hard that he's got chunks of Hrungnir in his own skull to this day. Ah, it's the other kind. Variety is so important. Then we'll have to stop her. The Valkyries must be freed, and we're the only ones capable.
Another wave on the left!
Wouldn't it be nice to find some incense just once? The smell of brimstone gets old quickly. Not as such, but it sounds like the fire giant's training ground, where he kept himself in fighting shape for Ragnarok. I'm just saying, priorities. And for the record, I'd already guessed you were Greek. Athena? Dead giveaway. I'd heard rumours of a powerful dwarf ruling over some poor sods not far from here. Not that you asked me. Can't say for sure what he saw that led him to try gouging out his own eyes, but I managed to restrain him before he finished the job. Didn't think we'd be hunting down Valkyries at the time, brother. Your guess is as good as mine, little brother.
Dark elf to the right, brother!
You know, most parents just want their children to get a full night's sleep. It's disorienting, isn't it? I strongly suggest not leaping into the void, though. Let me guess, there's a Valkyrie in here. It knows what to do. The stone served its purpose. We're fulfilling Tyr's spell. It's on the other side of the bridge. Head across, then take the stairs all the way down. And with that, I cannot argue. I'll just contemplate that little nugget in silence, then. Evil to whom? Sometimes it all depends where you're standing. I don't know. Like them well enough to cover a massive wall in his vault with them, though. If by safer you mean brutally rip her wings off, then my vote is aye. Lift with your legs, brother. Bloody outstanding. On the day that brute force is the answer, I'll be quite happy to be on your side, brother. And we're not dead. That's a plus.
You'll see.
And on that dramatic note, we must delay the conclusion of our exciting tale. Surt the brave, who accepts his fate to perish in Ragnarok. And long shall they chase, but not endlessly. For it is foretold that someday Skoll and Hoti will catch and devour their prey. Clues towards finding a path to Jotunheim and other obsessions.
It concerns Freya. She paid me a visit. Might want to cut her some slack, lad.
Odin sent Freya to marry Thrym the Cunning, while Thor, under magical concealment, infiltrated Jotunheim in search of his stolen hammer.
Find the tip of that chisel. That's the magic we need.
From the ribs of pack beasts, she fashioned second feet, allowing her to glide upon the snow so no animal could evade her.
Well, that's something.
Aye. When Thamur fell, he'd crushed a charming place famed for worshipping the Vanir god Njord. Thor always took credit for planning that one. But truth is, the sweaty ballbag just got lucky.
And from that destruction, the world can be born anew.
Well, as I recall, it involved, a spell?
To finish what I was saying, I tried to serve Odin by serving peace, and he took it as disloyalty.
Oh, I'm glad I'm still useful to you.
A necessary evil, he would say, to bring order to the realms.
Afraid your dad's right, son. Maybe you should stick that in my head for safekeeping. As if the marriage wasn't punishment enough.
What is what? I can't see anything back here.
Where was I then?
Impressive!
Sigrun, I'm sorry for being so worthless. I could have done something, or tried at the very least. What will you do now?
Odin's wrath was fierce, and his curses upon her were more than she dared to fear.
That's putting it mildly, brother.
From behind! That's right, lad. It's on the other side of the bridge. Head across, then take the stairs all the way down. Have you considered another tactic?
The opposite, in fact. The Lake of Souls feels faster than Alfheim time, but Hell is much slower than Midgard. Sorry, I'm sure that's confusing. Aye, but she spurned his affections. And for that insult, Odin vowed revenge. It's just an illusion. Hell's known for torturing its inhabitants with their own past. We should focus on getting back to your son.
So, Odin coerced Freya into using her Seithar magics to conceal Thor, so he could sneak along with her and infiltrate Jotunheim. But we need to lose that harpoon!
Odin suspected the giant secretly possessed some remnant of primordial Jotnar creative essence, the stuff all realms were made of. The Unity Stone must have been fashioned from that essence. To trust an outsider with it, even Tyr, tells you just how desperate they were. Just trying to be helpful.
Fair enough.
Get me to Tyr's temple in the Lake of the Nine, and I'll get you to Jotunheim as promised. I'm fairly sure it's on the side you didn't go before. Well, this is sparse. Both? She didn't even notice me. For 1,000 mortal lifetimes, the bridgekeeper kept the living out of this place. But now that you've ripped his heart out, here we are. Funny how it all comes around. Now you mention it. He wouldn't. She stuck it out through all manner of indignity, all in the name of maintaining peace and safety for her people.
Great. Just bear in mind this boat can only take us part of the way. Tyr's temple is near the top of a tremendous waterfall which, sadly, we are downstream. That means even if we get there intact, we'd still need to sail up a waterfall somehow. With his ancient magics, he cast the wolves to the heavens, and they began their chase. Furious, and he cursed her most terribly.
He'd have kept it in any of 100 places, I'm afraid. All because he chooses to serve a grand cycle so much bigger than himself.
To truly embrace your purpose and the patience and sacrifice it demands is to ensure your day will come.
I can assure you I'm unsurpassed in keeping confidences.
He knew the giants were deeply concerned about the hammer, a super weapon in hands they did not trust. But they trusted Tyr. He came from Muspelheim, the fire realm, bringing heat to the young cosmos, conjuring the sun from his primordial flame.
That is interesting. It's known the Aesir find their own way to Valhalla. No Valkyrie escort, no processing at the gates of Helheim. That may be significant. 2 out of 3 isn't bad. That icy bramble outside, brother, covering the travel stones. Get back out there and use your blades to clear it away. But did you also know that control of the light has changed hands no less than 213 times?
Yes.
Although he wasn't a dragon when I knew him.
We should probably do something about them. Now then, before Modi so rudely interrupted us, we were just about to explore Tyr's vault. Ominous. But even Thor wasn't stupid enough to take on Starkath on his own. Parts of my brain must still be coming back to life. Just need a moment to finish waking up. I'm afraid I don't know. She could be anywhere, any realm. Let me guess. There's a Valkyrie in here. Hrimthur knew that Freya loathed the Aesir despite her marriage to Odin, and I believe he gave her the secret to Asgard's defences. Freya's temple. The ring is just as beautiful as I'd remembered. Precisely. It's serious. We must hurry. That would explain the hefty magical lock on the outside. Find some health! It took some convincing, but ultimately Odin was persuaded to marry his deadliest enemy, a certain Vanir goddess, legendary not only for her fertile beauty, but her genius at the very Vanir magic that Odin had long aspired to master. Once more to the horn, and time to walk. The story will keep. Ah, the very topic of conversation. A tattooed man travelling with a child. He doesn't know what you are. Me? I'm the greatest ambassador to the gods, the giants, and all the creatures of the Nine Realms. I know every corner of these lands, every language spoken, every war waged, every deal struck. They call me Mimir, smartest man alive, and I have the answer to your every question. Okay, there are a few gaps in my knowledge, but Odin's had me imprisoned here for 109 winters. I'm a clever lad. I can piece it together. I promise. Just given time. Oh, then you've come to the wrong place, little brother. The highest peak in all the realms is not here in Midgard. It's in Jotunheim, realm of the giants. Take a look. This is the last known bridge to Jotunheim in all the realms. See that mountain? Looks like a giant's finger scraping the sky. That's the highest peak in all the realms. No here. When the giants destroyed all other bridges to their realm, they locked this one up with a secret rune. If it still exists, only a giant would know it. True. But today, the winds of fate have kicked up a strange vortex of coincidence. Fact is, there's only one person alive who can get you where you need to go. And luckily for you, my schedule's wide open. It's your best and only move from a tactical standpoint. It's the one place the man who cannot be killed won't follow you. First, you need to cut off my head. And Odin made sure that no weapon, not even Thor's hammer, could free my body from these bonds. But fortunately, you don't need my body. The trick is, we need to find someone who can reanimate my head using the old magic. And she'll help, she might do, worth a try. He tortures me, you know. Every day, brother. Odin himself sees to it personally, and believe me, there is no end to his creativity. Every single day. This isn't living. Brother, in case you can't resurrect me, there's something you need to know. The boy, the longer you wait to tell him his true nature, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever. So you value your privacy more than your son, eh? Fair enough.